It was mid-September, was it September 17th, I believe, 2024, nearly a year ago. Very next day, we had walkie-talkies exploding in the hands of these Hezbollah operatives. But Operation Exploding Pager was exactly, and that's not the official name for it, by the way. That's what we've called it here in the live stream. These Hezbollah terrorists, a page went off, an old school beeper, a pager. They got a page, they looked at it, and the pager either blew up in their face or in their hands and killed some, wounded thousands, put them out of commission. And that was a real death blow from the outset for Hezbollah. Israel followed that in rapid succession over the next few weeks, taking out Sheikh Hassan Nasrallah, the Hezbollah leader, taking out the entire Hezbollah military leadership, the Radwan unit, and then invading southern Lebanon, destroying Hezbollah infrastructure, Hezbollah's terror apparatus throughout southern Lebanon, blow after blow. But it all began really intensified with Operation Exploding Pager. Pretty amazing. Israel has a real history, recent history, including of doing that at the outset of major operations. Israel starts with a bang, a surprise bang, quite literally, no pun intended. We saw it during the 12-day war. Overnight, Israel, seemingly out of nowhere, takes out Iranian military leadership, strikes Iranian nuclear facilities, launches drones from inside Iran, Mossad agents on Iranian soil, launching drones from inside Iran that killed Iranian officials in their beds. That's how the 12-day war began back in June. Operation Exploding Pager, the major operation against Hezbollah, began with that last September. Think of the 6-day war back in 1967, destroying the Egyptian Air Force on the ground. So Israel has a history of these daring surprise attacks to launch a campaign, to kick things off. But I bring this up because Operation Exploding Pager, really one of the most important dates in recent Middle East history, no doubt, most important occurrences, because it began the death spiral for the most powerful terror group in the world, Hezbollah. Before Operation Exploding Pager, look, folks, Hezbollah was ascendant. On October 8th, one day after the October 7th, 2023 massacre, Hezbollah joined in and began launching rockets at Israel on a practically daily basis. They succeeded in driving some 90,000 Israelis from their homes in northern Israel due to the rocket fire and the constant threat. And look, Hezbollah planned a ground invasion of Israel many magnitudes more than what we saw from Hamas on October 7th. So Hezbollah, look, blanketing Israel with rockets, northern Israel, forcing Israelis to evacuate for months on end for close to a year, over a year. Hezbollah was feeling great about itself. Yeah, its Hamas brothers were taking a beating in Gaza in the wake of the October 7th massacre, but Hezbollah was saying, we're untouchable. We've got this massive arsenal. It was tit for tat for 11 months. Again, October 8th, 2023, Hezbollah unilaterally, without provocation, began launching rockets at Israel. And for 11 months, Israel would strike back, but limited in some ways. And then Hezbollah crossed the line last July when it bombed a village, an Israeli Druze village, a soccer field. Do you remember this? We covered it here in the live stream, killing, I think, 11 children, Druze children in northern Israel as they played soccer. And then Israel said, look, between that and between we've really gained the upper hand against Hamas, this was about a year ago, Israel said, okay, now we don't want to fight a war on two fronts, Gaza and Lebanon. Now that Hamas has been smashed, we can really turn our attention to Lebanon, to Hezbollah. That's exactly what Israel did, and they completely devastated Hezbollah over a span of about 2 months, to the point where right around Thanksgiving, late November 2024, Hezbollah limped to a ceasefire with Israel, which has held, quote unquote, over the past 9 months or so, 8-9 months. But throughout that time, Israel has continuously struck Hezbollah terror assets and positions in Lebanon. I say all this to say, this little prelude to get you up to speed, to refresh your memories. And again, it's hard to believe it's been almost 11 months, or it has been 11 months, almost a full year since Operation Exploding Pager, since the takeout of Sheikh Hassan Nasrallah and the Radwan force. It brings us up to today, another very pivotal date in Middle East history. August 7th, 2025 will go down as the day that Lebanon's central government said, yes, Hezbollah must disarm. Now, you saw the title, you saw the thumbnail for this live stream today. Is this the end of Hezbollah? And I ask that. It's an open question. It's certainly valid to be asking it, because for years and years, as Hezbollah built itself up as the most powerful force in all of Lebanon, Hezbollah's military assets were more powerful than the Lebanese government's, the official Lebanese military. They were scared to confront Hezbollah. And Hezbollah, of course, had backing from its masters in Tehran, the Iranian regime. Hezbollah had, again, talk about them feeling great. September 15th, 2024, they were still feeling great. Right before Operation Exploding Pager, they're saying, most of our weapons are intact. We've been going tit for tat with Israel for about a year, but we still have at least 150,000 rockets and missiles. We've got a tunnel network, a terror tunnel network. We've got drones. We've got foot soldiers. We're in good shape for when the showdown with Israel does come. And then all those pagers exploded. And the rest is history, Middle East history. But they were feeling great. And then it all went very, very sour for Hezbollah. And now they are so weakened. Folks, I mean, really wrap your heads around this. Israel just waged a 12-day war against Iran, directly striking Iran, bombing Iran, with help from the U.S., destroyed Iran's nuclear weapons facilities, and you didn't hear a peep out of Hezbollah. If you would have told me 1 year ago that, hey, Israel's going to strike Iran's nuclear facilities, carry out essentially a 12-day bombing campaign against the Iranian regime and kill several of its top commanders, and Hezbollah wouldn't do anything, I'd say, huh? Are you crazy? This was the main reason for Hezbollah's existence as the Iranian regime's insurance policy against any potential Israeli strike against Iran's nuclear facilities. Iran said, Israel, if you dare target our nuclear sites, we will unleash Hezbollah at your doorstep in southern Lebanon. Hezbollah will blanket all of Israel, which, helpful reminder, is the size of the state of New Jersey. Hezbollah will blanket all of Israel with rocket and missile fire, precision-guided missile fire, because remember, Iran had been diligently shipping precision-guided missile parts to Hezbollah through Syria. And then that collapsed, by the way. Talk about salt in the wound in December when Bashar al-Assad's regime collapsed in Syria. So Hezbollah smashed by Israel, and then their lifeline in Syria is removed. Hezbollah's in really bad shape, to the point where you didn't hear a peep again during the 12-day war. Again, all along, Iran warned Israel, if you dare strike us, we will unleash Hezbollah. And Hezbollah was portrayed as the 800-pound gorilla that no one wanted to cross. No one wanted to mess with Hezbollah. And Israel was hesitant because of Hezbollah's capabilities and the problems it could potentially pose. I mean, there's Hamas, which, as we saw on October 7th, could do a lot of damage. Then there's Hezbollah, which is a different beast, and I do mean beast entirely. Much more powerful on every level. And much more important to Iran, as really its crown jewel of all the proxies in the Ring of Fire. We're talking Hezbollah, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, the Houthis, the militias in Iraq and Syria. Hezbollah was the kingpin and the crown jewel, no doubt. And then all of a sudden, they were removed from the board. Stunning. And that, combined with two other factors, the fact that Israel in late October 2024 was able to largely destroy Iran's air defenses. Then the third factor, the Trump effect, Donald Trump was back in office. All of that And of course, the very dire intelligence reports that Iran was marching for the bomb and very close, all combined to lead to the 12-day war in June, where Israel dealt Iran smashing blows, very similar to what they did to Hezbollah in Lebanon last fall. Now we are at the point, I mean, folks, what a turn of events. And I've used this a lot talking about Iran. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. The entire West, Europe, wanted to appease Iran and Hezbollah. They wanted no parts. And now Iran is defanged. Hezbollah's licking its wounds, a shell of what it was. Iran's, look, neither of them are entirely defanged, by the way. And that's why this conversation about Hezbollah disarming is so important. It cannot be underestimated that the Lebanese government, which was scared of Hezbollah, I'll use the word, which was basically living under the shadow of Hezbollah, blackmailed by Hezbollah for decades, is now saying, you know what? We agree with the United States because the Trump administration has been pushing this, the disarmament of Hezbollah. And the envoy, Tom Barak, who is traveling around Syria, Lebanon, and trying to make all this happen, Trump's envoy, he's saying, look, we're going to do this. And the deadline is the end of this year, December 31st, 2025. Hezbollah is not liking the sound of that, nor is its Iranian masters who want to rebuild Hezbollah no matter how long it takes. And it's going to take a while after the damage Hezbollah has suffered. But we're going to unpack this more. What does this look like? The disarmament of Hezbollah. And key question here, is the Lebanese army ready to go to the mat to make this happen? If they have U.S. backing and subtle Israeli backing, perhaps they will. And by the way, another problem spot with the disarmament of Hezbollah over the years has been that, look, Hezbollah has members of the Lebanese parliament, ministers, very influential in Lebanon's government. They walked out today, by the way, in a huff out of this cabinet meeting as Lebanon's central government in Beirut approved the United States disarmament plan for Hezbollah. By December 31st, 2025, Hezbollah must disarm. And again, we can declare that, but is there teeth behind it? What is the backup to that? Is it just empty words, or will this be enforced by force? We're going to break that down in larger implications. Before we do, hey, quick reminder, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Click the notification bell so you get alerts every time a new video is posted. We're fast approaching 1.1 million subscribers. For such a time as this, we're bringing you breaking news, current events, commentary, chiefly about Israel and the Middle East, but we hit the whole globe, China, Russia, the US, etc., and all from an unapologetically biblical perspective. Imagine that. So if you like what you're hearing, be sure to subscribe. And hey, check us out, Facebook, Instagram, X. I'm there. I'm active. Also, we've got a second YouTube channel. Believe it or not, we do. The Stakelbeck Tonight channel. It's at Stakelbeck Tonight, featuring clips from my nightly TBN TV show. It's called Stakelbeck Tonight. You can catch it on TBN, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, re-air at 10:30 p.m. Eastern every weeknight, Monday through Friday. Okay, a lot of programming, a lot of content for you to check out that we're bringing to you. But let's get into this a little bit from the Times of Israel. And the headline, Hezbollah ministers walk out of cabinet meeting as Beirut approves U.S. disarmament plan. The proposal lays out 4 phases that will lead to Hezbollah's missiles and drones being dismantled by the end of the year, and then a full Israeli withdrawal from southern Lebanon. So if Hezbollah disarms, Israel, which is in southern Lebanon right now, having a presence there, is a buffer zone between Israel and Hezbollah. Israel pulls back, but I just laid out here. And what do you think, folks? Leave a comment. Leave several comments if you want. But if Hezbollah disarms, and we've had this conversation for years. I remember talking about this vis-a-vis Hamas, 12, 13 years ago. People were throwing this out there. Will Hamas disarm and reform and become a legitimate political entity? No, they won't. Because if Hezbollah disarmed, they would no longer be Hezbollah. Their entire rationale for being, their whole existence hinges on being an armed jihadi terror movement dedicated to the destruction, the violent overthrow, and complete destruction of the world's one and only Jewish state, Israel. That's it. This is not the Muslim. Hezbollah does not operate like the Muslim Brotherhood does. In some ways they do, in terms of, look, they're patient and they have members of parliament, etc. But Hezbollah, at the end of the day, it did not build up those huge amounts of armaments. I mean, 150,000 rockets, drones, and all of that. It didn't do that by accident. Their goal was to invade and destroy Israel. It's that simple. October 7th times 1,000. That was the goal. And I'll tell you, if Yahya Sinwar, the not so dearly departed Hamas terror master, did not move first, then Hezbollah may very well have accomplished that. I mean, look, the plan was for Hamas, Hezbollah, the Iranian regime, the Houthis, the militias, Assad, all to move at once against Israel, to ignite the entire ring of fire. Sinwar got ahead of the curve. He acted sooner than his brothers did in these other terror orgs, and he invaded on October 7th. The rest is history. He signed his own death warrant, and one day later, Hezbollah signed its own death warrant when it began launching rockets at Israel. But here's more. Hezbollah ministers and their Shiite allies walked out of the cabinet's discussion on this plan, the disarmament plan, and they lashed out, calling the plan to disarm Hezbollah a grave sin and vowing to act as if this edict did not even exist. The U.S. proposal is that Hezbollah obviously disarms, and then that's the key, obviously, ground, aerial, maritime, all of it. And then Israel says, okay, if you do that, then we will withdraw. We have 5 posts. There's 5 key posts that Israel has in southern Lebanon right now, Hezbollah's turf. Israel says, okay, then we will disarm. But Hezbollah has to, or I'm sorry, withdraw, not disarm. Hezbollah has to disarm first. Phase 1, Hezbollah has to commit, and the Beirut government has to commit to it and making it happen. Like we said, there's got to be teeth behind it. Phase 2, Lebanon. I mean, this is starting. It's not the U.S. or Israel swooping in and at gunpoint forcing Hezbollah to disarm. They're putting the onus, the U.S. is in particular, on the Lebanese government. Time to step up, boys. Let's see if you're capable. Then Israel withdraws, and phase 4, Hezbollah's heavy weapons. This is where it gets interesting. Hezbollah's, in the final phase, Hezbollah's heavy weapons, we're talking missiles and drones, will be dismantled. And then the U.S., Saudi Arabia, France, Qatar, and other friendly states will organize an economic conference to support the Lebanese economy and reconstruction of that country, and implement President Trump's vision for the return of Lebanon as a prosperous and viable country, maybe joining the Abraham Accords with Israel after decades and decades, even going back before Hezbollah, of war and madness in Lebanon. Think of the Lebanese civil war in the 1970s. Then Hezbollah is born in 1982, created by Iran. Past 43 years, an Iranian satellite operating inside Lebanon. I mean, so via Hezbollah. So Lebanon's had a tough string, a tough run of things, needless to say. But could that be about to end? What do you think? Is this possible? Is Hezbollah going to go out with just a total whimper and just give over its weapons, its arms? I find that hard to believe. Are we headed for a collision course in Lebanon? I find it hard to believe on one hand. But on the other hand, here's a problem for Hezbollah. And they're counting the cost right now. They're doing the math, and they're trying to figure this out. Is Hezbollah? They're in a severely weakened position. They were built up for 43 years to defend Iran in a conflict with Israel. Then that conflict came back in June, 12-day war, and Hezbollah was nowhere to be found. They were laying low. That tells you all you need to know about how weak they are right now and just the smackdown that Israel has laid upon them. And by extension, how the collapse of the Assad regime next door in Syria and the collapse of the Iranian regime, for all intents and purposes, has affected them as well. If Hezbollah wants to fight this disarmament plan, Now, they would always traditionally look west to their masters in Tehran, but now Iran's not going to be able to run to the rescue, because to do that, Iran would have to supply Hezbollah through Syria. Again, Iran and Hezbollah are now persona non gratas in Syria. Now that Assad's gone, we have that new jihadi leadership in Syria, which is not fond of the Iranian axis. It's a jihadi rival. But you can't, it's tough to see Hezbollah agreeing to this. But if they don't agree to it, it means probably the end of Hezbollah. Because they want to resist this, then that will not be good. And that's an understatement for Hezbollah, considering how weak they are already. Do they want to go out in a blaze of glory and have a mass martyrdom, as they would call it, and fight this? Or do they want to play ball here? They'll probably try to slow roll it and get extensions on when they can give the weapons over and everything else. But I think the key point is, does the Lebanese government and the Lebanese army, do they have the gumption to carry this out? And look, will they have what kind of backing from the U.S. here, and potentially Israel in a more subtle, non-public way, and other Arab nations? Will the pressure upon Hezbollah become relentless, where they have to disarm? And then what becomes of Hezbollah? Do they just disband and scatter? That'd be amazing. It'd be a new Lebanon, Abraham Accords, all the rest. Great. But key point here to consider, does this put Israel and Iran, and I mentioned this in the title, does this put Israel and Iran on a collision course? You might say, what are you talking about? Well, number one, we've been talking about it here in the live stream over the past week or so. I believe Israel and Iran are on a collision course anyhow. It's not done. The 12-day war was not the end of things. And I'm not warmongering to say that. I'm just being honest and analyzing it how I see it. Right now, Iran is in a Hezbollah kind of condition, weakened, embarrassed, humiliated. Its weaponry has been smashed, many top leaders taken out by Israel. Iran's air defenses are down. And Israel is basically saying what applies to Lebanon now applies to Iran. Whenever Israel, since the ceasefire went into effect in November 2024 with Hezbollah in Lebanon, whenever Israel sees Hezbollah rearing its head again and making movements, trying to rearm, Israel strikes. And Israeli leaders are saying, look, we're going to do the same in Iran. If Iran tries to replenish those ballistic missiles and launchers and, God forbid, restart its nuclear weapons program, we will strike. And this is the perfect time for us to strike, because Hezbollah is still down and the air defenses in Iran are non-existent right now. So I think there are still some sensitive targets, I'm sure, in Iran that Israel didn't strike the first time around. And you can bet your bottom dollar that the Iranian regime is going to do something. It's just who they are, right? Like I said earlier, if Hezbollah lays down its weapons, then they're no longer Hezbollah. What's their whole point of existence is to destroy Israel. Can't do that without your weapons if you're Hezbollah. And same with the Iranian regime. So these jihadi leopards will not change their spots. Iran will go back to its old ways. And beneath the surface, they're already discussing how they can do it, how they can get away with that and escape Israel's prying eyes, I guess you would say. But they're not going to be able to, because as we said earlier, Israel has incredible intelligence assets inside Iran. So Iran, like Hezbollah, man, oh man, again, oh, how the mighty have fallen. They're in a tough spot. But as soon as they do something nefarious, Israel will strike. Something threatening, Israel will strike again. They've got total control of the skies above Tehran. But here's where the collision course may intensify as well. Is Iran willing to let Hezbollah just collapse? Say the disarmament plan happens. Hezbollah's completely neutered. They've been so important to Iran for 43 years. Is Iran willing to let Hezbollah just collapse and be disarmed? Or is Iran going to go to the mat for Hezbollah? Look, there's a precedent here. Bashar al-Assad was on the ropes back in 2011, 2012, 2013. He was ultimately deposed in 2024, but look, he was on the ropes in that Syrian civil war. Iran intervened in a massive way. They said, we can't lose Assad. We can't lose Syria. Syria is too crucial to our plan to destroy Israel. Geographically, it sits on Israel's doorstep. And then logistically, that's how we supply Hezbollah, through Syria into Lebanon. So Iran and Hezbollah went all in to save Assad's tail. And it looked like he prevailed. And then everything went haywire for the Iranian axis in 2020, the latter half of 2024. So Iran would love to go to the mat to save Hezbollah, but with Syria gone, I don't know how they do it. And I don't think Iran has the capability to do it or the will right now. They may just have to take an L and chalk this up, which is, I mean, this was inconceivable to even think about this a year ago. But we have now gone from Hezbollah at the zenith of its might, and the Iranian regime as well, to Hezbollah potentially having to give up its entire massive arsenal, and Hezbollah not even getting involved when Israel struck Iran's nuclear facilities. I mean, folks, I think it is God ordained. I think the Lord has gone ahead of Israel time and time again since October 7th and allowed Israel to attain these stunning victories, improbable victories, but man, are they victories. It's a new Middle East. And if Hezbollah is disarmed, one of the greatest scourges in the entire region will be effectively over and neutered. Can it happen? It's going to be gradual. Will it happen? It's amazing, again, that we're even having this conversation. But we are, and it's going to take teeth behind this decision today in the Lebanese government cabinet in Beirut. There's going to need to be teeth behind it, because Hezbollah will do everything it can to resist this, and so will Iran. But the good news is their capacity to resist limited? A show of force by the Lebanese army, would really make a difference there, saying, hey, Hezbollah, it's not just empty words. We mean business. Fasten your seatbelts. I pray for the dismantlement and demise of Hezbollah, no doubt, which is a demonic death cult. So interesting times in the world's most volatile and strategic and prophetic region, the Middle East. Hey, we're glad you're here with us to document all this. We're shoulder to shoulder with you, walking through these Bible times. Thanks for joining us today. Until next time, God bless you. And remember, never hold your peace.
Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the Watchman Newscast. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an upload, and tap the bell icon so you're notified every time a new video is posted. And don't forget to share your thoughts, insights, and comments below. Thanks for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow.